What if the demon lord conquered an entire fantasy world, only to get stuck in Tokyo and work at a fast food restaurant? Sounds like peak isekai nonsense, right? But the devil is a part-timer. Secretly did something much smarter. It turned the classic isekai formula upside down and made the demon lord the one getting isekai'd.
Like the sun.
Satan, the demon lord of Ente Isla, is forced through a portal and lands in modern-day Japan. Without magic or an army, he becomes Sadao Maou and takes a part-time job at MgRonald's. Even his former enemy, the Hero Emilia, ends up in Japan. What follows is a bizarre mix of workplace comedy, fantasy, romance, and supernatural drama. And that's the genius of the premise. The biggest threat in another world now has to worry about rent, food, and getting to work on time. Here's the first hidden fact. This isn't technically a standard isekai. It's a reverse isekai. Instead of a Japanese protagonist being transported to another world, fantasy characters are transported into ours. That simple twist completely changes the usual power fantasy. The early episodes are especially clever because Mao doesn't lose his personality after arriving in Japan. He's still ambitious, strategic, and obsessed with conquering the world. The joke is that his evil empire now starts with climbing the corporate ladder at a fast food restaurant. And then there's the visual identity. Season 1 was produced by White Fox, and its strongest moments aren't just flashy sakuga. The animation sells comedy through timing, facial expressions, and body language. Mao going from terrifying demon lord to cheerful employee can be funnier than any big fight. Another hidden strength is the contrast between characters. Emi is supposed to be Mao's sworn enemy, yet modern Japan forces them into situations where they have to act like normal adults. Their rivalry becomes less about good versus evil, and more about two people trying to survive in a world that doesn't care about their old titles. The series also quietly builds a larger mythology around Ente Isla. Angels, demons, humans, and other supernatural forces aren't simply good or evil. Their history is connected, and the further the story goes, the more complicated those relationships become. But here's where the anime becomes controversial. Season 1 became beloved, partly because of its sharp comedy and strong chemistry. The later seasons were received much more negatively by parts of the hardcore fandom. Many viewers felt the animation, pacing, and adaptation quality couldn't recreate the magic of the original. Reddit discussions repeatedly compare the later seasons unfavorably with Season 1. There's also a fascinating production fact. The naming is ridiculously confusing. The original is The Devil is a Part-Timer, followed by The Devil is a Part-Timer, and then another season labeled The Devil is a Part-Timer. Second season. Yes, even the exclamation marks became part of the fandom's running joke. And despite being called a finished anime, there's an important catch. The anime adaptation ended in 2023, but it did not adapt the entire light novel story. The original light novel concluded with Volume 21 in 2020, while the anime covered only part of that material. The hardcore community's relationship with this anime is complicated. Season 1 is still remembered fondly as a hilarious reverse isekai classic, while the long-awaited continuation created serious disappointment for many fans. That contrast is important. The reaction isn't simply, the anime is bad. It's more like, the first season was special, and the later adaptation didn't live up to that standard. Some fans even describe Season 1 as one of their first anime, and say they were genuinely excited after the 9-year wait. So here's the mind-bending part. The Devil is a Part-Timer was never really about a demon lord becoming powerful. It was about taking characters who believed they understood their world and dropping them somewhere where their titles meant absolutely nothing. The demon lord becomes a fast food worker. The hero becomes a normal employee. Enemies become neighbors. And suddenly, the fantasy world's greatest conflict looks completely different. The anime may have stumbled later on, but its original idea remains ridiculously clever, and that's why, years later, people still remember one question. What if the Demon Lord had to clock in for work